Well, today's presentation, like I said, dovetails with the first presentation that we did on recognizing hazards. Recognizing hazards was really focused on the individual. What do each of us do as an employee, as a worker, or in our own homes, in our hobbies, or whatever it is? How do we go about recognizing the hazards that are around us? Well, this presentation is from the loss prevention side of things, and it's really looking from an employer standpoint. And what do we do to identify hazards and ensure they get taken care of? And so this inspection is the check all the box page. This is the important things that we need to do as an employer to stay out of trouble, to keep our people healthy, to not get sued because of a failure on our part. Recent time we've seen some incidents that have happened that have really been troubling. We had a member of the public get seriously injured, really bad injuries, falling into a hole in a park, and really significant injuries. And we identified many cases where, and not just that case, but there are many cases where we're not getting out and really doing inspections. We're really not documenting in some ways. And this is so essential for us to be able to defend ourselves against claims. But number one, forget about the claims. We don't want the incidents to happen to start with. We don't want our employees to get injured because of these hazards as well. So it is incumbent upon us to do and document inspections. So let's dive in and ask ourselves why. Well, number one, accidents are caused. Accidents are caused by unsafe conditions, unsafe acts, and so that can be associated with people, the things that they do or don't do. It can be associated with a natural condition that's out there. It could be a condition that we cause based on what we're doing. We could take a guard off of a tool, off of a piece of equipment, and we create an unsafe condition. We could have a lightning storm come through or a flood, and that could be an unsafe condition that's just a naturally occurring event that happens. I believe that accidents can be prevented, but they need to be prevented by eliminating the causes. You see on here, we have our, this is one of the long time graphics that we have used, and it's in the safety world. And really what it says is for every fatality, there's an increasing number of severe injuries and even more minor injuries, a whole bunch of near misses, and a crazy amount of unsafe acts or conditions. Just because there's an unsafe act or an unsafe condition doesn't mean there's going to be a fatality. And most cases, that doesn't happen. I can get away with things for a long time until it gets me. And so that's why sometimes we become a little bit too confident in the acts that we're doing because we've gotten away with it before. But we got to remember, if we have enough of those unsafe acts and conditions, if we don't deal with those near misses, then the chances of a fatality go way up. So that's why we do this stuff. And if the causes aren't eliminated, we're going to have accidents not only occur once, but they'll keep occurring if we don't identify and remove those things. Okay, well, in my teaser for this webinar, I talked to you about a legal requirement to do inspections of your facilities. This is a Utah state requirement. UOSH, the Utah Division of Occupational Safety and Health, Utah OSHA, that's what I call them. They're the ones that regulate and basically ensure that we follow the OSHA standards, they also have some Utah specific standards. And one of these Utah specific standards is here. If you watch the first webinar that we just completed here not too long ago, we talked about an employee's responsibilities and duties as it pertains to identifying hazards and taking action on that. Well, this one is a little bit different. It's in the same section, but this is focused on management. This is focused on our operations. And what does it tell us? It says management shall. What is shall? Shall is will in legal speak. So that's a have to, that's a must. Management shall inspect or designate a competent person or persons to inspect frequently for unsafe conditions and practices, defective equipment and materials, and where such conditions are found, it shall take appropriate action to correct such conditions immediately. Immediately. Okay. So let's run through that just quickly. So this is a legal requirement. And when OSHA comes out to visit you, if you haven't done this, they can write you a citation for it. At the trust, when we come to your facilities and we're out there doing a risk assessment to help you out, one of the things that we'll ask is, are you documenting inspections? And we hope that you're going to have a copy of that documentation. And we'll talk about why documentation is so important. But if OSHA comes into your facility, Utah OSHA, and they say, do you inspect your facilities? And you say, yep. The follow-up question to that is, well, can I see your documentation for it? So inspections are great, but we need to document those things as well. One thing I wanted to point out in here is it talks about a competent person. What does that mean? Well, a competent person in OSHA speak is somebody who has knowledge and authority, somebody who has the knowledge to be able to identify hazards and the authority to be able to do something about those hazards. They don't have to be a safety professional. They don't have to have a degree or anything like that, but they need to have enough knowledge to be able to identify, oh, that's a hazard there, and this is what we need to do to deal with that hazard. So a competent person should do these inspections. Does that mean that that there's one person that does that? Not necessarily. Could we have everybody in our organization be trained up to be a competent person? That would be my hope. If we could get to a point where all of our staff meet that standard of being a competent person, wow, we're gonna be really successful in our safety program. So that's kind of our goal. So once again, it's a requirement that we need to inspect frequently for unsafe conditions and practices, defective equipment and materials. Okay, and take action when we find it. So, question, why do we inspect? Well, I just went into great detail. It's a legal requirement. It's a UOSH. There's also some OSHA requirements around it as well. But primarily, we're trying to identify hazards and correct those so they don't cause accidents. We need to identify nonconformities when many times we'll have a process, a procedure that says this is how we do the job. And if we're not conforming to that, we can have problems. Either the product that we're dealing with won't come out right, water or the report or whatever it is that we're doing. If we don't follow the procedure, it may not turn out right. So we want to identify those nonconformities, train our staff. Inspections are a great way to help our people understand what safety is and what their part is in it. But number one is to prevent accidents. We don't want to hurt people. A close second is we want to prevent lawsuits. We don't want to get sued because somebody got injured using our facilities or just walking by because of our negligence. And so whatever it is that's going to push you over the edge to do these inspections, take it, take it and run with it. So whichever one motivates you. We should develop an inspection plan and say, what do I really want to find out? As I go out and audit or inspect my facilities, what is it that I want to find out? I need to identify what my standards are. We'll talk about that more in just a minute. And what is the scope? Well, do I want to do all of my facilities, or do I want to go out and say, we're going to do an inspection of our sidewalks and see what kind of hazards we have out there on our sidewalks? Or maybe we go in to our facility and we say, we're going to observe staff behavior and see what kind of unsafe or safe, hopefully more safe than unsafe, acts that they're doing out there. Are they doing it right? Checklists are also important as well. But back to that first question, what do I want to find out? Really identify that. If my goal is to just identify hazards, that's okay. If there's something else that I want to get at, it may be we want to see what our safety culture is at our organization and see how we might improve that. That's also another way to do that. So build your plan and say, what at the end of the day, what do I want to get out of this? I want to comply with OSHA standards. So I've got checklists when OSHA comes out and do that. I want to eliminate hazards. And so there's going to be a function that goes along with my inspection to take this to completion and eliminate the hazards. At the end of the day, maybe I want to improve my safety culture along with the morale of the people that work here. That could be a goal as well. So lots of good stuff there. So documents, and I'll say this again, probably 2 or 3 times. If it isn't written down, it never happened. In this world, in compliance and safety, we've got to write these things down. Checklists are great. Checklists are awesome because they give us something. I can take somebody who is completely uninitiated and hand them a checklist. And as long as they can read the checklist, they can walk out there and it says, do all of the fire extinguishers, are all the fire extinguishers charged? Is the needle in the green section on the gauge? Well, that's a pretty easy thing for them to verify. A checklist is great. Checklists are not the do-all, end-all. They don't have every possible hazard listed on that checklist. And so we want to train people to go outside of that checkbox and look for other hazards that are out there, outside the box thinking, once again. Other things that we're going to look at are work orders. How do we deal with a hazard once we identify it? What kind of corrective actions are we doing? And how do I track all of this stuff to completion? Once again, I'll say it again. If it isn't written down, it never happened unless it's bad. And then the plaintiff attorneys can make you look really, really bad if there's no documentation that you were doing the reasonable and prudent thing. So why do we do inspections? I'm belaboring this point, but it's important. They're legal requirements, but secondary to that, if I write something down and I do this inspection and I track it to completion, things get done. That's kind of the frustration that many of us may have in whatever it is that we do, is we talk a lot, but sometimes we don't complete whatever the task is that we're looking at. Well, this program that I'm talking about helps you get things done, take things to completion. So if you know what you're looking for, you'll see it. So checklists can be really good, but we're also going to look at what is your standard. You know, what are we looking at? It may be OSHA. You know, we go and we make our list based around OSHA compliance. It may be fire code. It may be something different. And just because you're doing a safety audit doesn't mean that it only has to have safety items on it. You can put other things as well. So there are consensus standards out there, ASTM, those types of organizations, manufacturers' requirements. I can check that kind of stuff. And it makes it easy for us to do an inspection, even if we're not used to it. So what's your standard? I caught this fish last week. Just have to point that out. And I was wearing a coat. It was cool where I was. I wish I were there. Anyway, how long's your fish? How much does your fish weigh? Well, if we take the fisher person's idea or their word for it, that fish may be a lot may be a lot bigger than what it is in reality, because we may exaggerate that a little bit. So we use a tape measure, which is the standard. Well, those are the things that we can put in our checklists. Here is our list of the records of the standards that we need to follow, and we check them to make sure that that's working. Other documents that are out there, we talked just a little bit: checklists, work orders, action registers, and reports. Let's hit those. We can do different types of inspection, and I do like to change this up. I think management needs to do inspections. Now, inspections can sometimes be a bit of a negative word. You can call it an audit, you can call it whatever, management by walking around, I don't care. But I think management should be out there at least once a month and walk through the facility and look at things and interview staff and say, is there anything that makes you nervous about your job? Got any broken tools around here? Do you have anything that, has anybody got injured lately? Ask those types of questions, because they'll lead you to the real places where we can have problems. We're obviously going to do an inspection before we start up a new process. That's essential to make sure that we caught everything and got it all installed correctly. And then regular inspections, and that's really where we'll spend a lot of our time today, are those regular inspections that each department needs to be doing every month. I would say at least monthly, you do these and you document them. And we talked a little bit about our DSO, designated safety officer meeting that we're having tomorrow. We're highly encouraging our designated safety officers to ensure that this program is going in their organizations, that once a month, each department gets an audit form. It could be a checklist, and they do an audit. They take care of their hazards and they turn that audit into the DSO once per month. And then a record of that, of who got that done, who didn't, goes to management. Why? Well, because we want to get things done. And for a manager, that's a great piece of information. We have 6 departments, and 5 of them got their monthly inspection done and 1 didn't. Well, the manager knows right away where they need to focus their attention. So that is a great program. I love the idea of handing this inspection to a different person in each department each month. Goes to the supervisor, and then the supervisor distributes it around. It lets everybody know that safety is their responsibility too. It lets them know that they have the responsibility to go out and identify hazards for others in the department. And I think more importantly than most things is it trains each staff member on what to look at. Give them a checklist, have them go out and do it. And guess what? For the next month, they're thinking about that. Oh yeah, that garbage can's in front of that fire extinguisher again. I need to move that, and let's have a talk about that in our next safety meeting. You can't have that garbage can stored where it is. Okay. All right. So frequency. There are different types. The ones I'm talking about, I like that monthly. We may do an in-depth audit where we look at paperwork and we look at very detailed things once a year. We'll go in and say, how are we doing with our programs? And there are OSHA requirements around that, and EPA requirements on program review. Some things we do daily. I'm doing a task. I'm going to check the emergency stop on the piece of equipment I'm working with. I'm going to verify that the fire extinguisher there. I'm not going to pick it up off the wall, but I'm going to check it off on my list and say, yep, the emergency equipment's in place and the e-stop works on the machine. Okay, now I can get going. What I'm really talking about today, though, are those monthly audits, monthly inspections that we're doing by department. What do I look for? I look for unsafe conditions, unsafe acts. I also look for security risks. And you can put all kinds of things into your audits and inspections. Tune those up to your operation so it matches what you do. It's just some basics. Inspections should be done by everybody. They should be done everywhere. They should be done at least monthly, and there needs to be some accountability for that. We did a risk assessment down in Springdale, and this was the team. This was basically the whole management team from Springdale. And we went out and we walked through their facilities and pointed out some good things. This was in my mind just an outstanding group of people doing the right thing. And anyway, great crew there. All right, we need to audit for unsafe conditions, unsafe acts, and everything else. Take a look at what is out there. So just to rehash that, use a different inspector each month. Everybody has a different set of eyes, and you're going to see things differently than I do. You're going to point out hazards that I may not see because I don't understand the process that you do. I like the checklist form. I think that's good. That doesn't mean that you can't put stuff on there that isn't on the checklist. Make those checklists specific to your work area. If you've got an eye wash station, have that on there. I'm going to check that and ensure that eye wash works. If you don't have an eye wash station, you don't have to do it, but make sure it doesn't look like this one. Ooh, that is nasty stuff. That's not going to be very good on your eyes if you have to wash your eyes out. We have some sample documents, and we'll send out a copy of each one of these documents to everybody who signed up for the presentation today. This safety audit starts out with a supervisor review. The supervisor, department head, wherever you want to have that, whoever the boss is going to sign off that they have reviewed the findings from the safety inspection and that they've got a plan. Either the hazards are taken care of, or they've got a plan to fix those things. If we have to make work orders because we got to buy something, or we've got to get maintenance personnel in to fix something, we want to list those down. This is a way that we have that closed loop, so we track everything. There are different sections in this standard form, and like I said, make it fit what you're doing, but the different sections will do different things. Where some of them we're looking for physical hazards that are there, making sure that the fire extinguishers are charged and in where they're supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. This one also has an employee interview. So if I'm the person going out to do the inspection, I'll grab a random employee and say, and ask them the questions. Hey, where's the nearest fire extinguisher? Ask them about where their safety data sheet binder is, and ask them what the topic of the last safety training was, last department safety training, and just kind of get the idea of what's our general knowledge of the staff. Okay, there are other forms that we use. This is another one we'll drop in there. It's a playground inspection checklist. It's a list that we can go through and determine, do we meet the basic standards of safety for our playground equipment? And we want to document these and put them in a binder, put them in a file, so we have those. This is a key piece of information if we ever have an incident and you get sued because a kid got hurt on your playground. This shows that you were doing the reasonable and prudent thing. So what do we document? We document the good and the bad. If there's a problem in our playground out there and damaged piece of equipment, we document that it was damaged. We also want to document we took it out of service and we fixed it. We had a piece of equipment. Let's say we had a swing. Somebody vandalized a swing. So we took the swing down, and later in the day we came back out with a new swing that we had in our spare parts, and we put it in. Well, document those things, the good and the bad that has happened, and that's going to show that we're reasonable and prudent about what we're doing. We're going to be able to defend those claims, but better than that, we're going to prevent the incidents from happening to start with. Okay. All right, we've got to correct those problems when we find them, though. Documentation is critical. But we've got to fix those issues. Just documenting and saying, hey, we got a problem. If we come back the next month and say, hey, we got a problem, and we do that for a year, hey, we got a problem. That's an issue. And so we've got to handle those things. So if I can fix the issues while I'm walking along, I move the garbage can away from the fire extinguisher. Well, that's great. That's a good way to go about it. Other things may take time, may take money, may take maintenance resources, contractors, et cetera, et cetera. And if they do, here's another form we'll send out. It's called a safety maintenance work order. You can call it whatever you want. We send out the forms in a format that you can go in and just make it your own. Take out put your logo where the trust logo is, put your information that's specific to how you go about doing it. You may have a work order system that's an electronic one. That's absolutely fine. This is just a tool that may help you, but it's a way that we can identify the problem, prioritize it, and ensure that the people that need to know and that will take care of it are notified. And then we track it through to completion. Pretty cool thing. Everybody has to sign off. All right. There are other ways to track things besides lists and spreadsheets and work order systems, things like that. The trust has a mobile application. It's called My Trust Mobile. And this is not necessarily the checklist, although that is coming sometime in the relatively near future. This is more of a free-form program. This is what we use when we do risk assessments at your facilities. It is filled with thousands of different canned findings. I think it's thousands. It could be hundreds, but I think it's probably close to thousands. And it has the canned findings in there. You can take a picture, put a condition on it and say, this is what's going on. You can edit that to make it match what you found. And then you can make a report out of it. You simply click a button and it will deliver a report, a PDF report that you can email directly from your phone, send it out to the people that you want. You can also track it to completion. You can go online just on your computer, or you can do it through your phone, and you can check these things off that they're done. And you get nice little reports that shows what's completed, what isn't completed, what level of severity were they, et cetera, et cetera. Keep a list, if nothing else. We call those an action register. Here's what we need to do, and check it off, give a date and who did it when it's done. All right. And then the last form. Boy, I'm gonna blast you out a whole bunch of forms, but I guarantee if you use these things, it will help your program more than you can imagine. This is called the Executive Safety Accountability Report. So by the title, who does this report go to? Well, it goes to the chief executive. Who's the boss? Who's the manager, the director, whatever their title may be. This is a monthly report that goes to them that says, how are we doing on safety? And so those things that we talked about, how many departments do we have? We've got 6 departments. How many departments completed their inspections for the month? Well, 5. And so that gives us something that quickly a manager can look at that and say, how are we doing in our safety program? Oh, looks like we got a department that's not doing what they're supposed to. Other things that we track on here are things like, did every department do a safety training or a safety meeting this month? And so it's a quick way that we can get an idea of what's happening and really let management know what direction we're going. Managers like this type of report where they can say, we're hitting the mark or we're not hitting the mark. If we're hitting the mark, all right, then I can encourage and just keep going the way we're going. If we're not hitting the mark, then I need to go and take some sort of a corrective action to make that happen. So I think this is a great tool. If you've got something, I'd love if you want to share that. I'd love to blast that out to everybody too. If you want to share that, or if you just want to share it with me, I'd like to run through it with you as well. So just in summary, inspections are important. They will help us in many ways. It's not just a compliance thing. It's not just checking the box so OSHA doesn't give me a citation. It's preventing accidents in the long run. It's keeping our people safe and healthy. It's preventing those lawsuits from our public spaces. This allows us to take action and track it to completion. This is a powerful tool for our operations, not only to identify hazards, but to train our staff and to build a safety culture. This is one of those tools that will get us that direction. Okay. I took less time on this one than I did on the safety moment last time. If you have any questions or comments, please type those into the chat box, and we'll answer those now. We got anything, Mike?
Nope, nothing right now.
Well, if I hurry and shut up, then we won't play stump the dummy. So, Mike, in the last session, Mike said, "Let's see if we can stump Jason on anything." And I said, that shouldn't be too hard. But anyway, what were you saying, Mike?
I was just going to say, I mean, Jason talked about the MyTrust mobile application that we have. That is, you are required to have a username and password to access that, though. So it is locked down for you. If you don't have that, or if you have someone in your organization that you think needs that kind of access, get in touch with us here. We can get you your login credentials and everything for that, so you can use that application to carry out some of these inspections.
Anybody can go on to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download it. So it's available both in Android and iOS. So you can download the app. If you already have access to our MyTrust application that you use on your desktop, we'll need to activate the safety portion of that if you want it. So just give us Mike or myself an email on that, or Jill, and we can get you hooked up with that application. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. That's important. So I'm just looking. I don't see any more chats coming in. I can't see what it says, but
nope, no more chats.
Okay, folks. Thank you very much for your time and attention today. I know you got a lot of stuff to do out there. I know you don't need one other thing to do, but I'm here to tell you that this inspection program doesn't take that much of your time. Like I said, we're going to pass it to a different person in each department each month, and you're going to review. If you're a supervisor or manager, you're going to review what's there, make sure that we've got it taken care of, and then pass that on to your designated safety officer. And so you can get full credit for doing everything right when that report goes to management. I think this is an essential part of our operations. Why do I think that? Because I've used it and I know it works. So give her a try. Copy of the slides and the forms will be going out after the YouTube video is uploaded. So watch for that. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And beyond that, everybody go out and have a safe day. All right. I see a couple more come in, Mike. Were those questions?
Just a couple of comments about loving your presentations, especially about a dirty eye wash station. Those are great.
That was nasty, wasn't it?
I actually saw that in person a few times. Oh,
I've seen it too.
Yeah.
Normally it's not quite that bad, but a lot of times it's rusty.
It's orange. Comes out orange. Yeah.
I had one time at a really good, I mean, this is an organization that's really locked down. They have a great safety program, and we're doing a risk assessment. And we walked past the safety eye wash. They had an inspection on there. I said, "Can we test it?" He said, "Sure." And he hit the button or hit the paddle on there, and there was no water. He's like, "What?" And as it turns out, they were doing some maintenance on the equipment, and they'd isolated the water. Well, that was a problem for there, and I think it was just a good thing for this organization that really did safety well, to see that we can have failures even in that type of organization. So
yeah,
awesome. Well, thanks, folks. Be safe out there, and have an awesome day.